Hi everyone, this is Sendel from Kalangar Karana Institute of Technology. So today topic is C programming. In the topics we are going to study about looping statements. So what is looping statements? The looping statements can be defined as repeating the same process until the condition is satisfied. So until the condition is satisfied, we have to execute the looping statements. For an example, if you want to add 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus up to an infinity, so we can go for an looping statements. So why we need looping statements? So we cannot the simplifies the complex problems into an easy ones. It is enable us to alter the flow of programs so that we can writing the code again and again. We can again, so we can repeat the same code for an infinity number of times. So it why this why we are using looping statements. The advantages of looping statement is it is provided code reusabilities. We do not need to write the code again and again. We can transfer over the limited elements of the data structures like an array or linked list. So these are advantages of loops. We have three types of loop statements. One is while, do while, and for loop. So these, with the help of these three loops, we are going for an condition satisfies. So now we are going to see about while loop. The blocks of statement is executed until the condition is satisfied. It is also called as pre-tested loop. Why it is called pre-tested loop means first we have to check the conditions, then we have to go for an executions of that code. So if condition is not satisfied, we are not going into an body of the statements. So for this area, I am going to do an factorial programs in Dev C++. So very simple programming language. So directly we should not go for an header file. First we have to get the values from the users. So now I am going to do the program of factorial. So in factorial I have to get the values from the users. Then from the users, from the getting the values, I am going to calculate the factorial using while loop. So first printf getting the values from the users. So enter the value of factorial. Okay, then so if I am using the printf, I need to give a header file like hash include stdio.h. So this is an header file for printf. Then I have to give us int main. Then I have to use as open brace and close brace. So from here I am copying this and I am placing here. So I need to get an variable. So I am using as I am going to declare as int n. Then from here, so I am going to get the value of n. Percentage d comma ampersand n. So I got a value of factorials. So if I want to calculate 3, so 3 into 2 into 1. So in my logic of while loop, so it will be calculated in different method. That is 1 into 2 into 3. So now I got a value. So I have to check. I need to check the conditions. I have to check conditions up to satisfied of it. So I have to declare the I variables. So I is 1. While I less than or equal to n. So I am checking the conditions here. So checking the conditions. So after that I am opening the bracket. So here I had to calculate the factorial. So factorial we have to declare as a variables. So fact is equal to 1. So fact equal to fact into I. So it will be calculated like 1 into 2 into 3. So I am getting the values of from the users as 3. So it will be calculated as 1 into 2 into 3. Then I plus plus. So it will be calculated. So you can check the code. Here is the conditions. So if I am getting the values from the user as 3, so it will be checked as it is calculates 1 into 2 into 3. So what is the value is 6. So that is the condition here. So then I am increment the I values here. So last I will have to print the print f. So the factorial value is, so I have to give as percentage d comma fact, then semicolon. So this is my code. So first I am declare the variables, then I am getting the values from the users, as I am getting the values as n here. So what is the I value here? I is 1 and the n is 3. So I is less than or equal to n. So its condition is true. Then it will be execute the fact is equal to fact into I. Then I am incrementing the I values, so it will become 2. 2 less than or equal to n. So if condition is true, then it will be executed the fact into I. Then it will be go to the next value as 3. 3 is less than or equal to n. So its condition is satisfied. So it will be calculated as 2 into 3. So 6. Then I am incrementing the I values here. So it will be go as 4. 4 less than or equal to 5. So the condition is false. Then from that it will be execute these values. So this is my coding. I have to save the programs. Then for this sample file, sample while dot c. Okay, so this is my program name, sample while dot c. So now I am going to build compile the programs. So if having any errors, so you can see, so it is asking us enter the value of factorial. So I am going to enter as 3. So it shows that, so if I enter the value of 3, I enter the value as 3 here. So it is factorial values, it shows as 6. So this is a while loop. So very simple and easy code. Right. So next we are going to see about do while loop. So this is while loop. So do while loop, the while loop is the same as while loop, but here we are using as post tested conditions. So what is post tested? So here you can see the syntax: do, execute the code, then last only we are going to check the conditions. But in while loop, first we have to check the conditions, then we have to go for code. So if you are using as do while, at least one time the code will be executed. At least one time the code will be executed, then only it will be checking the conditions. So this we are calling as do while loop. So for this code, so again I have to mention as int main, then open the brackets. So I have to give as printf. I'm getting the values as enter the value of fact as next I have to get the values, so I need to declare as int n. Then again I have to go for scanf percentage d slash ampersand n semicolons, then do. So I need to check the conditions. So first I have to give as while open bracket I less than or equal to n open close bracket. Here you have to give a semicolon. In while condition we should not give the semicolons, but in do while, at the end of the while I have to give the semicolons. I have to declare the variables, so I equal to 1. So now you have to check the condition as fact equal to fact into I. So I have to declare the factorial values, fact equal to 1. So now I have multiplied, then I have to increment the values I plus plus. At last we have to display the variables, right? So printf open bracket, the factorial value is, so I have to declare this variable values here, at last fact this is my code here. First I am going to get the values from the users as n, then I am going for a do while loop. So do while loop here, first it will be at least one times it will be execute the conditions, condition statements. So here I am checking the conditions here. So if I am getting the value 3, so it will be checked as here, sorry, first it will be executed this one, and then it will be executed this part. So this is my code I am going to build. So it will be asking that save the programs. Sample.c. Okay, now we can see the factorials. So I am giving as 3. So I am giving as 3. You can see the factorial values is 6. Okay. So this is why this is a do while loop. So while is an pre-conditions checkings, do while is an post conditions and checkings. This is the main difference between the while and do while. So next loop statement is for loop. For loop. So why we are using for loop? So here we can minimize the code. Like if you are declaring as I here, then I initializations here. So you can minimize this code. So if you want to declare the variables here, I can declare the in for loop itself. So that's why for loop is easier. So what is the syntax for for loop is initializations, conditions, and increment or increment or decrement. So if the condition is satisfied only, it will be execute the code statements. If it is not satisfied, it will be come out from the looping statements. So is used in the case where we need to execute the some part of the code until the condition is satisfied. So it is better to use for loop if the number of the iteration is known in advance. So if you know the iteration more, so go for loop. So mostly we are using in array conditions. So if you want to store the values, we can use a for loop. So now we are going to see about the basic sample programs for loop. Right? Open the code. So int main, open bracket. Yes. So if I want to use the printf and scanf, I need to declare the variables. So I need to declare the header files, right? I need to declare the header files. Hash include stdio.h. So when you are using the loop printf only, you have to declare the variables header files under the value fact tutorial. So close brackets, scanf %d ampersands. So I need to declare the variable as n. So int n. Then now I'm going to do the in for loop statements. So for, so I need to declare the variables for loop as n equal to 1. So if you declare the variables I equal to 1, no need to declare once again. Fact equal to 1. So here I have to use as just and semicolon. So if you want to do I equal to 1, can be declared like this. Otherwise you can give simply as semicolons, I less than equal to n, then I plus plus. So if you see the difference, we can see here. So in for loop I can declare the conditions also. I can use I plus plus. So here we have to check the while loop conditions here, then I have to increment it here, right? Then open bracket and close bracket. So fact equal to fact into I, then only this, because I have given the increment here, so I no need to increment it once again. And last I am going to print the values of fact. Factorial value is right. So closing the values. Okay. So first I have declared that if I am getting the values 3 here, so it will be conditions, it will be checked here, then it will be execute there for factorials. So if the condition is satisfied, so until the condition is satisfied, so I am incrementing the I values here, so the loop will be going like this. So easy to declare the for loop. So you can see the difference while loop, and you can see the difference in loop while loop. Right. So save the perhaps sample for.c. Right. So I'm going to compile the perhaps. So it will be asking the value. So I am giving as 3. So it will shows errors. So what is the error here? So I'm checking the conditions. Fact is 1. Fact is 1. Is there any errors? I didn't mention that variable as fact. Okay. So now I am checking the conditions. So fact is 3. So it shows the 6 values. So now it is executed as 6. Right. So this is a for loop. For loop we can declare like this: while loop, do while, and while loop. So this is a sample programs for this. Next we are going to see about infinite loop. So if you want to go for an infinite loop up to the user had to stop that loop, until that we can loop that statements. So there is the 3 types you can see here: for loop, for loop, for loop, while loop, and do while. So if you declare like this, it is go for an user. The user had to satisfy the stop the programs means you can declare like this. So we can see the programs in while statements. So if I need to go for an while 1, okay. So like this you have to declare the syntax here. So if you declare the values here, then it will be going for this. So while 1, right. So if I'm declaring variables as 3, so it will be asking again 3. So it will be go looping statements, right? For here I can give us enter the values, right? So next line I am giving this, so you can see this looping statements. And this is an infinite loop, so it will be asking infinite times. So you can see this value, you can go up to 8. So this is we are calling as infinite loop. It will be going up to this infinite times. So we have to declare like this while of 1, right? So this is the infinite loop. So we have studied about 3 looping statements. One is while, do while, and for loop. Next one is an infinite loop. So thank you. Thanks.